Let's take a look at how to connect Aurelius to Zapier and integrate with thousands of apps you already use today. First, go to your Zapier account and click Make a Zap. From here, you'll be able to choose a new app and event to connect Aurelius to. For this example, we're going to show you how to create new notes in Aurelius. So we'll search for an app like Typeform we can bring notes into Aurelius from. So we choose Typeform, and now we can choose the trigger event, in this case, which is a new entry. It'll ask you to sign in to Typeform first, so that it can authenticate you and connect you to Aurelius. Once you've done that, we can click Continue. And here, we're going to choose which form or survey to bring in notes from. I have a testing survey already made, so we'll choose that one. Now, it'll ask you to actually test it to find sample data to make sure the connection's working. And it has, and here is a sample response from our Typeform survey. Next, we choose the other app we want to integrate with. In this case, that's obviously Aurelius. We're going to take Typeform responses and turn them into notes in our Aurelius project. So we choose Aurelius and we choose Create Notes as the event. It's going to ask you to sign into Aurelius, and so you're going to need an API key. Now the way you get this is you go back to your Aurelius account, click on your company name, and scroll down to Manage Zapier. Now I've already made an API key here, but if you don't, there'll be a link to generate an API key. Once you do, simply click on it and it will copy it. Go back over to the window in Zapier and paste that API key in where it's asking you to. Once that's done, you're set up with Aurelius in Zapier and you can continue. Now, you can actually choose which project and category to send Typeform responses into notes for. So you can actually search for the project. I have one, a sample connecting Zapier to Aurelius, and the survey responses as the category. Next, you'll choose where to create notes and what the notes should have. There's a number of options here, and what we're going to use are the actual form responses. So the free form responses from the Typeform survey. When you're ready, click Continue, and again, it'll ask you to test and review or test and continue. And it's going to show you what that data will look like. Hit test and review, and it tells us that it just sent a sample note to our Aurelius project, so everything's working fine. We click Done Editing, and we're ready to turn our Zap on, and our integration is ready. So now if we go, I have a sample Typeform survey here. We can fill this out with just this one question. And once we do, we click OK, we'll click Submit, and it will turn this into notes in our Aurelius project. So if we take a look at our Aurelius project now, you can see we have a category for survey responses. We'll go into that, and now we see two new notes in that category. One was the sample that it sent, and the other one was the new response we just added in that Typeform survey. So now let's take a look at creating a new Zapier integration where you can push key insights from Aurelius to another app. So you click Make a Zap. This time you're going to want to choose Aurelius first because you're taking data from Aurelius and sending it somewhere else. Now the trigger is New Insight. We already know that this works, so we're just going to click Test and Continue. Now we can choose an app where we want to send every new key insight to. Let's try Trello as an example. It's going to ask you to choose the app and then the action, so you can actually create a new card in Trello for every new key insight that's made in Aurelius. Of course, it's going to ask you to connect your Trello account. I have mine already connected, so I'll just click Continue. And then you choose the board you want to connect it to. I have a board specifically for this example. And then it'll ask you to choose which list you want to create that card in. Again, I have a sample one for us here. And then finally, it's going to ask you the name of the card. So the new insight, we have certain data you can share, but in most cases, what you're going to want to do is actually use the name of the insight, of course. There are a bunch of other options and fields, and this is true with many apps you can connect with in Zapier. We're not going to worry about connecting all of those, but you can take a look and explore all the other options for some of these integrations if you like. For now, we're just going to click continue. So again, it's going to ask us to test it. We know it works, so we're just going to do test and continue, and then we can turn our Zap on. It's ready to go. So if we go back over to Aurelius and our sample project, if we create a new key insight, this will now send it to our Trello board and create a new card anytime a key insight is made in Aurelius. So now, if we take a look at our Trello board and the list that we had set up, we have two new cards. One was the test from Zapier, and the other was the new key insight we just made together. So as you can see, using Zapier, you can connect with over 1,500 apps you already use today to automate data between Aurelius and other apps super fast.